I saw a post on Instagram that my wife was going to be the best mom, but she never told me she was pregnant, so I called her to confirm it, and now I'm mad at her for having to find out I'm going to be a dad over social media. We've been together for 4 years, married for 2, both from the same hometown but currently living in a different city. She's 27F, at our hometown for a family event, and I, 29M, stayed back due to work. We've been trying to get pregnant for 3 months, and now it's happened. The problem is the way I found out about it. My friend congratulated me by posting a screenshot in our group chat. It was an Instagram story posted by one of my wife's friends. The post was my wife crying and hugging some of her friends, with the caption, "You are going to be the best mom." I called her right away, and she answered pretty quickly, saying, "I have news, babe." All I said was, "I know, you're pregnant." She replied, "Wow, babe, how did you know?" I just said, "Saw it on Insta." "Didn't think to call me first, huh?" She said, "What? I didn't post anything." I responded, "Yeah, but your friends did. That's one way to find out I'm going to be a dad, thanks," and I hung up. I was furious. She kept calling me, and I didn't answer until my sister called shortly after. My sister asked me what was going on because she just arrived at my in-laws' house, and everyone was freaking out, fighting, and my wife was locked up in her room. I told her what happened, and she said, "There's no way she would do that." I replied, "Well, she did." My sister said she was going to find out what was going on. A little later, my sister called me back and explained everything. At that point, I'd calmed down, thinking it was just a bad friend who decided to post without permission. But my sister filled me in on the details. My wife was late on her period and, while hanging out with a friend, they thought, "What if you're already pregnant?" So they bought a bunch of pregnancy tests, all of which came out positive. They freaked out, told her parents, and then texted some friends in town to come over. From the time she found out to the time her friend posted on Instagram, only 2 hours had passed. My wife told at least 10 people before telling me. For the record, my sister told me that the argument going on when she arrived was because the other friends were upset with the one who posted on Instagram. Apparently, they all thought it was a bad thing to do and were mad at her. But they also couldn't understand why my wife hadn't told me sooner. I finally called my wife, and she was crying. She apologized and said she'd been planning to surprise me, which was why she hadn't told me yet. I was skeptical and pointed out that if she'd really wanted to surprise me, she wouldn't have been ready to tell me right when I called. She went silent, and I told her I needed some time to think. She yelled, saying I couldn't just walk away and that we needed to talk about it. I replied, "Why do we need to talk? So you can lie again?" And I hung up. A ton of people have been messaging me, but I'm honestly exhausted. I don't know why, but this has drained me. I've cried randomly, which is unusual for me. I'm not a crier. This isn't supposed to be a huge deal, but it feels like I've been hit by a truck. My sister sent me a message that really stuck. "Hey, I know this sucks, and it was crappy of her, but don't let this ruin it for you. You're going to be a dad. You're going to be an amazing dad. This is great. The only thing keeping me going right now is knowing that I'm going to be a dad. I've dreamed of this, and all I hope is that this baby is healthy. I'll probably swallow my pride and pretend I'm fine just to avoid making my wife too emotional during the pregnancy. But I'll do that tomorrow. Tonight, I'll just sulk." Update 1. Hello again. Things have settled down now, and I feel like I have all the information, so I'm here to give y'all an update. When I got to my in-laws, my wife was sitting on the sidewalk waiting for me. She jumped on me and kept apologizing, just hugging me and saying how sorry she was. We went to her room, and I told her I was really tired and wanted a nap before our talk. We slept holding each other. When we woke up, our talk felt like an endless circle, me asking what happened and her saying that she was stupid and that it was her fault. She kept saying it didn't matter what happened because she screwed up a big moment in our lives. I kept asking, but she just repeated that she messed up and that nothing else mattered. Eventually, she said she didn't want to give me excuses and that the right thing for her to do was take responsibility and apologize. I eventually gave in, told her she was forgiven, and said everything was fine. Still, I went to talk to her friend, the one who was with her all day and bought the pregnancy test with her. Her story was that, right after my wife tested positive, they spent about an hour freaking out and talking about ways to tell me or surprise me. Eventually, my mother-in-law got home, and they told her. Together, they decided to invite their girlfriends over to discuss ways to tell me. The friend went over all their ideas, and I 100% believe her. She also said it was discussed with the group that I didn't know yet and that they should all keep quiet for now because we hadn't decided when to announce it. She says the one girl who posted it on Instagram absolutely did it on purpose. She had been told not to say anything to anyone, and, at that point, they were even discussing ways to tell me with her. The picture she posted was taken when another friend had just arrived and heard the news. For some reason, she decided to post about it right then and there. Apparently, when they confronted her, she initially claimed she didn't know she wasn't allowed to post it. She stuck to that lie for a while, but eventually, she just told everyone she didn't care and left. She blocked everyone in the group, and we haven't heard from her since. No one knows why she did it. They don't know if she's jealous of my wife or something else. At this point, we don't care. She's blocked on our end too, and we want no contact with her. My sister later confirmed the friend's story. When she first called me with details, she was under the impression my wife had just told everyone and forgot to tell me. But after talking to other friends and my mother-in-law, she told me basically the same story. I was also told by the friend I spoke to, my mother-in-law, and another friend that when I called my wife, she basically said, "Screw it, I'm telling him right now," and was super excited to do it. Me and my wife talked again during our trip back home, now with me having most of the details, and she told her side, basically identical to what my sister and the friend told me. She was again very apologetic and kept saying that I'm her number one priority, and that this was one of the dumbest things she has ever done. We have a couples counseling appointment next week at her insistence. I honestly don't think it's necessary, but she believes I need a space to fully express my feelings. She's worried I forgave her too fast and that I'm bottling everything up. Honestly, her concern about my feelings is already enough for me to forgive her and chalk this up as a one-time thing. We also had our first appointment with an obstetrician, first because it's obviously the right thing to do, but also because many people warned me about the risks of miscarriages in early pregnancy. My wife's last period was about 6 weeks ago, and the doctor said it was a bit early for an appointment. Still, they ran a bunch of tests and confirmed my wife was indeed pregnant. So far, everything looks fine. Thank you all so much for caring about a random stranger. Update 2. I'm back to share the reason, as we found out why my wife's friend, we'll call her Carol, did what she did. She was having an affair with my Phil, and she posted it as some weird power play. Apparently, they have been seeing each other for 3 years now, but according to my Phil, during the first 2 years, they were together only 4 times in total. This past year, apparently, they developed a relationship, and my Phil was promising to leave my mill for her. First, from my perspective, I've lost all the respect I had for my Phil. I used to look up to the guy, but this is nuts. Look, my in-laws' marriage was not great. They separated a couple of times in the past, and before the pandemic, they were discussing divorce. Apparently, the pandemic helped them rekindle the relationship, but to me, it still felt like they should just divorce. My Mill is a very nice woman, I like her a lot, just like I used to like my Phil. They both look very good for their age, 50s, they're rich, they go on dates, take trips, but there was resentment there. You could feel it in their voices when they talked to or about each other. So while it would have been terrible for them to cheat, it wouldn't be surprising if either of them had. It would be a jerk move, but I wouldn't judge too much. But then you go and cheat with a woman half your age, who is friends with your daughter, and who you've known since she was 13 and you were in your 40s. Just gross. But most importantly, my wife is pretty sad. She's disgusted, as she should be, and has been saying she doesn't know if she'll ever forgive her dad. Apparently, it was a common joke in her friend group that she had the hot dad. She hated it, and Carol was the one who made that joke the most, so that's another layer of complexity to unpack. My Mill has moved in with us temporarily, just to get away from the town where everyone now knows what happened. She doesn't even seem sad though, she looks mostly mad and annoyed. The pregnancy looks like it will be a good distraction for them, and my Mill will be a big help with that. The way it came out is that Carol apparently got drunk after Christmas and sent pics of her and my Phil together to an ex who was hitting her up. The ex then sent them to his friends, and the gossip spread around. She has reached out with an apology, and in it, she admitted she posted about my wife's pregnancy out of jealousy toward my Mill. It was honestly super weird and didn't make any sense. My wife didn't respond, just blocked her again. My Phil has tried to reach out to us a lot, saying this is an issue between him and Mill, and that we shouldn't get involved or judge him for it. Yeah, right. In the beginning, he was even saying he loved Carol and was doubling down. A week later, he was promising my wife that he'd never even look at Carol again if she'd just talk to him. I'll follow my wife's lead on this, whatever she decides, I'll support her 100%. As for our relationship, it's back to what it was. She was a bit distant after the pregnancy reveal fiasco, but once I told her I missed her clinging to me, she's been all over me again, and it's amazing. Ever since this thing with her dad came out, she's been sad, but I made a joke that she's been playing up her sadness a bit to get more cuddles, and she laughed and confirmed, lol. So I think everything is going to be fine. The pregnancy is going well according to our doctor. Apart from this mess, things are okay.